Ipsos polling exclusively for Global News finds 48% of us had some kind of in person contact with someone from outside our households over the holidays. Of those who did, 61% say they gathered inside and didn't wear masks. 1 in 10 say they feel guilty for their COVID related behavior over the holidays. 9% say they hid the fact that they were traveling from other people. Though many of us made an effort to follow the rules, more than 1 in 4 believe the government has no right to tell us that we shouldn't gather with our own families. And nearly all, 95%, say they're confident that their actions did not contribute to the spread of COVID 19.
Well, the half of us, 48%, say that we gathered with people outside of our house or our household over the holidays. So if Santa was giving, people naughty or nice ratings, there was about half of us that were prepared to be naughty. And it really does underscore the fact that people are getting quite frustrated being locked down, and we're seeing this in other surveys that we've done for Global News. But here's real proof. I mean, 48% of the population prepared to admit that they really didn't follow the public health advice during the course of the holiday season. Pretty consistent across the country with the exception of Atlantic Canada. And given the success that Atlantic Canada has had in fighting the virus and fighting the pandemic, it shouldn't be surprising that they would be the most likely to break out of break outside of the rules and share more of their holiday season with others. Well, particularly when you see who are the people who are most likely to say that they are that broke the rules, and these are younger people. A lot of people feeling that it's probably not going to affect them, or they're not going to get infected. And secondly, that even if they do get infected, it's not going to have that a detrimental effect on their health. So you got a few people, actually quite a few people in the survey who don't think that this is going to apply to them. In fact, even when we asked people who did not observe the public health rules during the course of the holidays, whether or not this is going to contribute to them spreading the disease, 85% of them said no. Well, I think a fair amount of it is still people thinking that COVID is something that's out there and not in their homes. So even though the numbers are quite high, very, very high, still represents a fairly narrow slice of the population. And, the number of people who actually say that they know somebody who's been affected with COVID, or more importantly, the number of people who actually say that they know anybody who's died as a result of COVID is actually still fairly small in Canada. So at the moment, people feel that it's not necessarily something that's going to affect them. It's something that's going to affect other people. And also that maybe the infectiousness of the disease isn't as strong as is being claimed, which would underscore the point that people feel that they can gather. And as I said before, 85% say that that's not going to contribute to the spread of the disease. Maybe they're going to learn a very hard lesson as some of the numbers that come out that we're going through right now, and they continue to rise as we move into February. Most people didn't travel. The number was really small. It was about 2%. But even those who did, almost 10% of those who said that they did travel said that they hid it from other people. And by the way, I don't know that we interviewed that many politicians on this survey, but people were pretty much sticking to the idea that they shouldn't be flying on airplanes and going to sun and fun destinations, and they shouldn't be traveling out of province. But apart from that, a lot of people were still getting together in their communities. My expectation is that if it's going to be an interesting battle between people's levels of frustration and also their feeling that it's not going to affect them, fighting against what the numbers show coming out of the Christmas holidays as to whether or not we have a huge spike in terms of COVID, and whether there are significant shutdowns that affect a lot of people. Those two things I think will be battling going forward in terms of how people are going to behave during the March break. The other thing that we have going on, of course, is that more and more people are getting vaccinated, but that's at a very, very slow pace, given the level of demand that we know exists with them among the Canadian population. Other surveys that we've looked at, and this really underscores what we found from the holiday behavior, is that people are very, very frustrated with being locked up. Well, compliance with the voluntary directions wasn't that good going through the Christmas holidays, if you consider that half of us are prepared to admit on a survey that we did gather with people outside of our households. So as we put in place these curfews, unless there's significant enforcement, the likelihood that people are going to break them is pretty high. Biggest thing that jumped out of this to me was the fact that it's younger people who are really feeling the bite of the social isolation and that were the most prepared. And by the way, doing the most dangerous things. About a third of them said that they actually gathered with multiple households. So the younger population is a particular group that we're going to have to watch over the next while.